Last big topic of discussion that made waves this past week was the topic of changing federations. Hans obviously said that chess players should not be allowed to change federations once they play one game for one federation. I think that's silly. I mean, obviously, your case is was mentioned. I don't know why, because you were born in the U.S. You did play for
I changed federations, yeah.
Italy
In 2005,
that
and,
changed federations.
and then in 2015, yeah.
Yeah,
It's 10 years with the Time Federation.
but from especially your perspective, you can make the case that you change federations because you move at a certain age from the U.S. to compete on a regular basis. There aren't as many tournaments in the U.S. And you could say that this change actually helped your career, and then ultimately helped the U.S. by having you as a top player. So you can make both cases.
Sure, yeah. To me, it's not really on the players. It's on the federations and the governing bodies. If they want to change it so that players can't change federations, that's something that can be argued. I think that when someone, let's say in this case Hans, brings up a very specific group of players, for me it really just falls flat because it doesn't seem like he's arguing that this is like a systematic issue, but it just seems like he's arguing that this is negatively impacting him for whatever reason, which I also disagree with, and and then he's making it a point for this, because Hans did play the world team, and his team members were like Onishuk, Lazaro Bruzon, and you get like the full team. He was the firstborn. Hans was the firstborn.
Maybe Ray.
I actually don't think that there were like any American born, natural U.S. born players on the team, which he didn't really complain about then. Of course, if it's not negatively impacting you, then why would you complain?
Mm-hmm.
But now he's not going to make the team, which is actually, it's very close, I think, because it's between him and Ray,
Yeah.
and it's very, very close. And then suddenly the complaint comes. So, again, I don't have an issue with the like discussion as a whole, but you could make it about like the whole chess world and not just the few players that means that you're not playing on the team this year. Which again, it's not just and also Ray is maybe going to play on the team if Hikaru declines.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if Hikaru will or not, but let's just say that if Hikaru declines, then Ray would be playing, and Ray is well, you can't make that argument. He's always played for the U.S. So has Hikaru, so you can't make that argument, right? For me, for Wesley, for Lenier, I guess the other question is like, let's say if you come from a country which has some like either serious economic problems or maybe problems related to war, or some problems that negatively impact you and you want or need to escape the country, and this would be like, okay, we can use this as an example for Russian players from past 2 years, but also let's say if you're a Cuban player, you might have these reasons to change federations as well, right? Then is it fair to force a player to stick with their federation, even though
I think that's big.
that's this question, and so either they stick with their federation or they don't have a federation is the other question, or they're not allowed to switch to US. Like I don't know, for Lenier's example, for example, he did take some sacrifices to switch. I mean, I know this because we were working together at the time, and he couldn't play. He couldn't play while he was switching. He couldn't travel. I mean, he wasn't allowed to travel while he had his while he was applying for a green card, right? And so it's not like this was some sort of decision which wasn't born out of perhaps necessity for him, right? That's another question. And for a lot of players, like now, if we look at the aftermath of, um, of Russia and Ukraine, a lot of Russian players fled to other federations. And is it fair to tell them that they can't do that?
Mm-hmm.
Or are we going to like go case by case, which you can also do, right? Say, well, yeah, it's okay for this reason, but not for this reason. Sure, I understand. But yeah, most players will be trying to do the best for their career.
Exactly. In the world of chess, we don't have as many resources, right? So there's always going to be a fight between the players, the organizers, the heads of federation, whatnot, and this gives the power to the players, all in all, right? The federations, look, you have to give the players the best. You made the point of Russia, Ukraine, obviously linear with Cuba, but also we've seen recently the move of Pichot to Spain, just because the Argentinian
Pichot
Federation
from Argentina,
was,
yeah.
they were just not treating him well.
Iturizaga from Venezuela.
Iturizaga, who plays for Spain as well. So you
But
see
yeah,
a lot of movement.
this is like countries with serious economic problems as well.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you can't make money, or if, like in the case of Venezuela, your currency is completely devalued,
Then your career is done.
well, at least it's like, I mean, I definitely wouldn't blame the player. Now, if they put some rule, whatever that rule is, I don't know what it would be, but yeah, it's, I don't really understand what the argument is. Is he saying it's wrong to change federations for everyone, or just in very specific cases? Or is he saying that FIDE should implement a change? Yeah, again, maybe that could be argued, but it would have to be something, I think, that, like, why are we trying to hurt players who maybe are doing things that they need? I'm not even speaking from my case. I'm speaking more from cases of like the Italian Federation was a good experience for me.
Yeah.
When I played for Italy, I wasn't trying to escape something bad or anything. And for me, it was also like U.S. is quite a bit closer to home as well.
Yeah.
From a like personal cultural point of view.
You were born here, you speak the language, you don't speak Italian that well.
So maybe like the strongest argument would be made against me.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at it from a point of view of who is like the most American or whatever, then yeah, maybe you could make it for other players. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't blame players for their personal choices. And then you would have to apply it to everyone. It's not, I don't think it's honest from an intellectual point of view just to say yeah, these players are wrong, but then to ignore like all the players who left. I mean, why do people go to Spain? It's like it's a really nice country to live in.
Nice and sunny.
Yeah, it's a nice country to live in. That's why they go to Spain. And how many chess players have lived in Spain? Top chess players throughout the like last few decades is, yeah, you can't count. And okay, Shirov played for Spain. A lot of like Russian players went to Spain as well. I think players will be doing things which are good for them,
their careers,
or just good for their life.
Yeah.
And is it fair to tell them you shouldn't do that? Now, I don't know about other sports. That's the thing which I have no expertise on. So I don't know like how to compare it to Olympic sports or other things. Now, there's one argument which could be made is that like the country which is willing to dump a lot of money into chess will have an advantage because they can, buy players, let's say, which is a fair argument. But this also does encourage maybe some countries to invest more heavily in chess, like more recently, for last few years, Uzbekistan started to invest more heavily in chess, and they saw dividends from that. So it does encourage some countries to invest more heavily, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I think it would be bad if, like, let's say one country had all the money to invest and then they just took all the players and there's no competition left.
Mm-hmm.
But we really don't see that. Like, there's a very heavy, if we're looking at the Olympiad, there's a very heavy competition. There's like, okay, who will win? Maybe US, maybe China, maybe India, maybe Uzbekistan, like last time. And maybe some other country, right? I don't know exactly which countries have like very realistic shots, but maybe Azerbaijan, maybe Armenia, they did very well last year, 2 years ago. Maybe Hungary, who are quite strong now. So, yeah, it's a complicated subject. I don't mind like the subject as a whole, but I think it makes sense to look at it from a neutral perspective, not like, oh, these players are taking my job, which is also not true at all. Like, that's the other thing. I've heard this before, but if you have a lot of strong players in a country, it really doesn't detract from your career. If you're a 2,700 player and there's no other 2,700 players, it's not like you're going to become super rich in the country. If you're a 2,800 player and you're amongst, like, let's say 6 other 2,800 players, like, okay, maybe 6 is excessive, but at some point, if we go back to 2015, I think I was around 2,800, Hikaru, Wesley, and we're all playing for the same country, right? And I didn't feel like I was being negatively impacted by the fact that yeah, I would have been like clear number one if they weren't there, but because they're there, I didn't feel like I was being negatively impacted. Quite the opposite. I felt like this is overall a beneficial thing just to have more players. And yeah, maybe it feels that way if you don't get a spot on a team. But on the other hand, if you increase your rating by 20 points, you get a spot on the team, and that should be your goal, to not try to get like the top in my country without other players, but to get like top in the world,
Yeah.
which includes everyone. So yeah, I don't really see his argument as like super valid the way that he presented it.
I'm sure he's going to use that as motivation. Look, you know, take that in a positive way. Work hard, Hans. Get your rating up, and you'll make it. But yes, tell us what you think. Interesting subject for sure. This one with the switch of federations. Tell us what you think in the comments. And yeah, I guess we'll see you in the next one.
Sure.
Cheers.